What's up, people? In this video, I'm going to be talking about how we, and I specifically, respond to getting negative reviews. On to the topic of this video, which is about getting negative reviews and how to respond to them. Ever since I first published a book on Amazon, I've been getting negative reviews. Thankfully, majority of the reviews that have been left about me or Exposure Ninja or books have been positive, but of course you're going to get negative reviews. The conventional wisdom says don't take negative reviews personally, but I don't know, if you're like me and you have the kind of pleaser mentality, you can't help taking negative reviews personally. And I actually don't think it's a bad thing to take them personally either, because it forces you to look at what's in the review and say, is there any element of truth here? Is there anything that I can improve as a result of this feedback? It's basically just a mirror for somebody's perspective of what you do that allows you to improve. Everything in the world exists to make your company better if you want it to, and I think negative reviews are no exception. But what I've learned over the years is that people's review criteria are different, and I want to talk through my approach. Now, one of the first negative reviews we ever had, or I ever had, was for one of my books on on Amazon. The book is about Google, but it's a review on Amazon. And the review was left by somebody called Joy in February 2013. And Joy writes, "I unfortunately bought this book in error, and therefore it does not hold any interest for me. I've tried to read it, but I do not understand its concept. 2 stars. So this showed me that everybody has different criteria for what is a good or bad experience with your business and what warrants a review, a negative review. People could be, in Joy's case, she's reviewing her inability to use the Amazon website to buy a product, and she's decided that my book therefore deserves a negative review. Now, it's entirely her call, and the thing about negative reviews is you can't remove them. You can't say, hold on, that's completely irrelevant, and get it deleted. You've basically got to say, fine, leave it up. Thanks for your feedback, Joy. Thanks for bringing my average star rating down. And you've got to get on with it. So everybody's review criteria are different. Some people will review, if you're an e-commerce business, some people will review the fact that the delivery guy had mud on his boots and made your step muddy, and they'll leave you a negative review for that. And you're thinking, well, hold on, we've got absolutely no control over that. But maybe you should have. Really, people are just reviewing their experience of dealing with your company. They're just reviewing their perception of your business, aren't they? So there's nothing about a negative review which is actually reality, unless they've identified a potential issue, which is correct. So I made the decision after that review from Joy that I was always going to respond to reviews. So one of the things that I know is going to happen at some point is that we're going to start getting negative reviews because people don't like me personally. And I know it's going to happen. In fact, it has already happened. We had a really negative review on Facebook for someone who had been a customer of my previous drumming business when I was showing drummers how to market themselves online. He'd been a customer, or he'd been a lead of that business, and he'd found that I had transitioned to Exposure Ninja and that I was now teaching all sorts of businesses how to market themselves online. And for whatever reason, he took real exception to this and labeled me a scam artist and all of this, and you know, how dare I move away from drumming and all of this, and he just wanted to be the best drummer he could be, and I was just selling out and all of this. The reason that kind of upset me so much, well, first, it's never nice to read people saying horrible stuff about you, but the reason it upset me so much is he left that as a review on Exposure Ninja's page. So that's dragging down our average star rating because this guy didn't like me because I'd moved from drumming, which he considered to be this sacred job role, to a digital marketing agency, which he felt that was, you know, completely wrong. How dare you? So I made the decision early on to start responding to negative reviews, to really never let a negative review go without a response. And I think that's important because not only do you want to you want to reconcile with the person who's left the negative review, right? You want to give them an explanation, or you want to let them know about the things that you will have fixed as a result of that review, or as a result of the issue that they identified. But the other reason it's really important is because when you're assessing a business to potentially do business with, obviously, if you're like me, you're completely normal, you go onto their reviews, you immediately go sort by lowest rating. You're like, right, I want to see what the people who are bitching about this company, I want to see what they're going to be saying. I want to see the worst of the worst. And you can start reading through. Now, in that moment, that person's perspective is being created by all of these negative reviews. Some of them are going to be about, random stuff like I can't buy books on Amazon, or I don't like Tim. Some of them are going to be about your product or service. So we have people who've left reviews saying my SEO campaign didn't do what I wanted it to do, or these ninjas don't know what they're talking about. And in those situations, I think it's really important to leave a response which details the other side of that argument. So for example, we had someone who left a review saying that the SEO campaign didn't deliver what they were expecting. Well, they didn't implement the changes that we told them to make. So if you're paying for advice and you don't take the advice, can you say that the advice giver hasn't done their job? Well, I guess they're paying us for ranking improvement, so you can say, well, you didn't deliver the ranking improvement. But at the end of the day, if we told you repeatedly to do something and you just decided to ignore it, or decided that you didn't want to do it, we can't really help too much. I want the potential lead in future who's reading that review to have both sides of that argument. So I'd go back to that person and just detail in loads of detail exactly what happened there from our perspective. And that way the person has the complainer and they have the response, and then they can make up their own mind based on those things. We had another negative review. This person decided to go on every different review platform they could possibly find, even ones that we didn't have any profiles set up on. Really prolific reviewer, massive amount of energy. But his main complaint was that we'd given them some advice which wasn't accurate. Now, what had happened is a project manager on the phone had stated a position about SEO which was inaccurate. She then immediately retracted after the call, and she said, look, I said something that wasn't accurate, I just want to reiterate. And then she gave a more detailed explanation to correct her initial position. Now, this person took massive exception to the initial advice. They obviously didn't see the retraction, or they didn't process the retraction. They just took that initial comment and decided that we don't know what we're doing. Now, so in the response, I obviously said this, and they also said Exposure Ninja's no good at SEO. And this wasn't entirely accurate, because actually in 3 months, we'd helped their ranking improve. We'd given them a bigger bump in ranking than any bump they'd seen over the previous 2 years of doing their own SEO. Their allegation was actually incorrect. So yes, we made a mistake with the original statement, but we immediately retracted it and gave more detail. And actually we've been good at what we'd done, and we delivered what we'd said we would. So we wanted people to have both of those positions, and then they can make their own judgment. So I think it's really important to respond to negative reviews. Certainly for the type of person I am, and for the amount of work and energy that we put into being the absolute best agency that we can be, there's no way that I would want a negative opinion about Exposure Ninja somewhere on the internet without a response from me. At some point, I guess that's not going to be workable anymore, but for the meantime, I feel like I want to respond, and I want to give a counter perspective, as long as they're making, specific things, not just Tim is a dick. And I'll be like, yes, I'm sorry, I'm a dick, but I don't understand why this warrants a negative review. The first thing that we'll do when we get a negative review is I will reach out to the person who leaves the review. We had one on Friday. I'm recording this on Sunday. I always record these vlogs at the weekend. We had one on Friday where the person had tried to buy from Exposure Ninja, but we are now too expensive for them. And they'd watched an old video which said SEO starts from £500 a month. Well, SEO doesn't start from £500 a month at Exposure Ninja, because the game has changed in SEO. You need to put a lot more work in to get improvement. So our SEO services now start from considerably more than that. And she had taken exception to this. She decided that we were now too big for the small companies. which isn't true at all. We'd sent her a whole bunch of free training material and paid training material so that she could get herself up to speed, get the improvements that she wanted, and get to a point where she could afford to hire us. And she also took exception to a customer service experience that she had, where she'd given us a call. The person she'd been trying to reach was on compassionate leave, so she hadn't been able to get through to them, and the customer service ninja who answered the call didn't know this person's status. So there was a disconnect there. So she left a scathing review for us on Google. So I immediately gave her a call on the mobile and just talked through, what's your experience? Talk to me, let me know what's going on here. She's perfectly reasonable on the phone, and this will be a bit of a common thread. You'll get a scathing review from someone and you'll talk to them and they'll be absolutely lovely and charming and just as always. But there's like a keyboard warrior side of people that come out. Now, I believe there's always a positive to be taken out of any situation. So I asked if it would be okay for me to get some feedback on this new service that we're planning. Because actually I think that might have been the sort of thing that she would find really useful. And she said, yeah, cool, send me over some stuff, I'll be interested to take a look. So I think it's about using that negative review energy and using that as something that can kind of help you by getting feedback from that person, seeing what you could have changed, explaining anything that needs explaining, and then always getting feedback about, okay, so if we were to have done this, would that have been better for you? And I think through doing that, you can turn these negative situations into something that's positive and helps you grow. The thing I have to remember is to keep rational about this. As we grow, we're gonna get negative reviews. We've got like, I don't know, 150 active clients across the different things that we're doing for people. And we're probably conducting whatever, an average of maybe 10 different tasks or mini projects for people each month for each of these clients. So there's a lot of stuff there to go wrong. You can get a negative review because somebody doesn't like the order process, or somebody has a bad email, or whatever. It's very easy to trigger a negative review. So as we scale, I know that we're going to get more negative reviews. We're going to get people who don't like Exposure Ninja. We're going to be getting reviews from people who don't like the things we stand for. We're going to get negative reviews from people that don't like me personally. So I know this is going to happen. I don't think it's going to get any easier. It's certainly not getting any easier yet. I don't think I'd ever want to become numb to negative reviews. I think that's when your business becomes something that has a really bad reputation, when you kind of stop caring what people think. We care massively what people think. I don't think we have that kind of Teflon ducks back kind of approach to negative feedback. I think the team here at Exposure Ninja, we are quite pleasery in our nature because that's just how we are. We want to be the absolute best that we can be for our clients, so we're going to take any negative feedback personally. But as long as we use them as energy to help us improve, then every negative review can actually feel like a long-term positive. Now, I'm really interested to know, what's your perception of a business that has negative reviews? Does it immediately put you off? Now, I've seen a study where 4.9 stars out of 5 is actually more effective as a conversion tool than 5 stars out of 5, because 5 out of 5 feels fake. So I'm interested in, do you see negative reviews as always a bad thing, or are you expecting to see negative reviews for any company that's doing good stuff? Also, have you ever left a negative review? Are you a nice person and you've left negative reviews? I'm really interested to know. Anyway, hope you found this video useful. I'll see you in the next video.